Alrighty. Well, I'm going to be doing some more Bible reading because that's what my viewers said they wanted me to do yesterday when I was live. So, why not? I'm behind in Bible reading anyway. I figured it's kind of fun, to live stream my Bible reading because it gets multiple things done. One, I'm catching up in my Bible reading. Two, I'm gaining viewers. I gained like 3 subscribers yesterday. And other people are getting to hear the Word of God, so that's great. So today, I left off in Leviticus 7 is where I finished, and I was supposed to get to 15, but it's a new day, which means another 3 chapters. I'm supposed to be in Leviticus 18, which is on 163, and I am on 145. Alrighty, so, I am going to be reading, starting in Leviticus 8, and we'll go until I can't anymore, and then we'll go back to Genesis like I did the other day. I'm going to set this over here, and this over here. I'm going to grab myself a sip of water real quick, and then I'm going to start. Alrighty. What time is it? Excellent. Okay, let's go. Leviticus chapter 8. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the bowl of the sin offering, and the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened bread, and assemble all the congregation at the doorway of the tent of meeting. So Moses did just as Yahweh commanded him. Then the congregation was assembled at the doorway of the tent of meeting, and Moses said to the congregation, This is the thing which Yahweh has commanded to do. Then Moses had Aaron and his sons come near and washed them with water. And he put the tunic on him and girded him with the sash and clothed him with the robe and put the ephod on him. And he girded him with the skillfully woven band of the ephod, with which he tied it to him. He then placed the breastpiece on him, and in the breastpiece he put the Urim and the Thummim. He also placed the turban on his head, and on the turban, at its front, he placed the golden plate, the holy crown, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. Moses then took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and all that was in it, and set them apart as holy. And he sprinkled some of it on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all its utensils, and the laver and its stand, to set them apart as holy. Excuse me. Then he poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head, and anointed him, to set him apart as holy. Next, Moses brought Aaron's sons near, and clothed them with tunics, and girded them with sashes, and bound caps on them, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. Then he brought the bowl of the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the bowl of the sin offering. Next, Moses slaughtered it, and took the blood, and with his finger put some of it around on the horns of the altar, and purified the altar, and set it apart as holy, to make atonement for it. He also took all the fat that was on the entrails, and the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and Moses offered it up in smoke on the altar. But the bull and its hide, and its flesh and its refuse, he burned in the fire outside the camp, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. Then he brought near the ram of the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. Then Moses slaughtered it, and splashed the blood around on the altar. And he cut the ram into its pieces. Then Moses offered up the head and the pieces and the suet in the smoke, and he washed the entrails and the legs with water. Then Moses offered up the whole ram in smoke on the altar. It was a burnt offering for a soothing aroma. It was an offering by fire to Yahweh, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. Then he brought near the second ram, the ram of ordination, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. And Moses slaughtered it, and took some of its blood, and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe on his right foot. He also brought Aaron's sons near, and Moses put some of the blood on the lobe of their right ear, and on the thumb of their right hand, and on the big toe of their right foot. Moses then splashed the rest of the blood around on the altar. And he took the fat, and the fat tail, and all the fat that was on the entrails, and the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and the right thigh. From the basket of unleavened bread that was before Yahweh, he took 1 unleavened cake, and 1 cake of bread mixed with oil, and 1 wafer, and he placed them on the portions of fat, and on the right thigh. He then put all these on the hands of Aaron, and on the hands of his sons, and waved them as a wave offering before Yahweh. Then Moses took them from their hands, and offered them up in smoke on the altar with the burnt offering. They were an ordination offering for a soothing aroma. It was an offering by fire to Yahweh. Moses also took the breast and waved it as a wave offering before Yahweh. It was Moses' portion of the ram of ordination, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. So Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood which was on the altar, and sprinkled it on Aaron, on his garments, on his sons, and on the garments of his sons with him. And he set Aaron apart as holy, his garments and his sons, and the garments of his sons with him. Then Moses said to Aaron and to his sons, Boil the flesh at the doorway of the tent of meeting, and eat it there together with the bread which is on the basket of the ordination offering, just as I commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it. And the remainder of the flesh and of the bread you shall burn in the fire. And you shall not go outside the doorway of the tent of meeting for 7 days, until the day that the period of your ordination is fulfilled, for he will ordain you through 7 days. Yahweh has commanded to do as has been done this day, to make atonement on your behalf. At the doorway of the tent of meeting, moreover, you shall remain day and night for 7 days, and keep the charge of Yahweh, so that you will not die, for so I have been commanded. Thus Aaron and his sons did all the things which Yahweh had commanded through Moses. Ooh, we've got a couple people saying hello. Acer GT says hi. 2gram 6170 says hi. And Dirtbike King 942 says hi. H Sox CJ or SJ, sorry, says tell me something. What do you want me to tell you? Alrighty. So that was the end of chapter 8. I have a bit of a headache because I've been playing, like, not too much, but I've been playing Minecraft lately, and, you know, I hadn't been used to playing Minecraft for extended periods of time, so now I've got a headache, and my eyes are kind of strained, and you'll notice they're kind of red as well. What country am I from? I am from the United States of America. So anyway, because of my headache, I'm not sure entirely how long I'll be able to go, but I'll keep going until my head can't handle it. Alrighty. I'm going to read chapter 9 now, and then after chapter 9, I'll look up and see what other comments or questions y'all might have. So, chapter 9 of Leviticus. Now it happened on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel, and he said to Aaron, Take for yourself a calf, a bull, for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering, both without blemish, and bring them near before Yahweh. Then to the sons of Israel you shall speak, saying, Take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both 1 year old, without blemish, for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for peace offerings, to sacrifice before Yahweh, and a grain offering mixed with oil, for today Yahweh will appear to you. So they took what Moses had commanded to the front of the tent of meeting, and the whole congregation came near and stood before Yahweh. And Moses said, This is the thing which Yahweh has commanded you to do, that the glory of Yahweh may appear to you. Moses then said to Aaron, Come near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, that you may make atonement for yourself and for the people. Then offer the offering for the people, that you may make atonement for them, just as Yahweh has commanded. So Aaron came near to the altar and slaughtered the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. Then Aaron's sons brought the blood near to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood, and put some on the horns of the altar, and poured out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. The fat and the kidneys and the lobe of the liver of the sin offering he then offered up in smoke on the altar, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. The flesh and the skin, however, he burned with fire outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering, and Aaron's sons handed the blood to him, and he splashed it around on the altar. Then they handed the burnt offering to him in pieces, with the head, and he offered them up in smoke on the altar. He also washed the entrails and the legs, and offered them up in smoke, with the burnt offering on the altar. Then he brought near the people's offering, and took the goat of the sin offering, which was for the people, and slaughtered it, and offered it for sin, like the first. He also brought near the burnt offering, and offered it according to the legal judgment. Next he brought near the grain offering, and filled his hand with some of it, and offered it up in smoke on the altar, besides the burnt offering of the morning. Then he slaughtered the ox and the ram, the sacrifice of peace offerings, which was for the people, and Aaron's sons handed the blood to him, and he splashed it around on the altar. As for the portions of fat from the ox and from the ram, the fat tail and the fat covering, and the kidneys and the lobe of the liver, they now placed the portions of fat on the breasts, and he offered them up in smoke on the altar. But the breasts and the right thigh Aaron waved as a wave offering before Yahweh, just as Moses had commanded. Then Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he stepped down after offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting. Then they came out and blessed the people, and the glory of Yahweh appeared to all the people. Then fire came out from before Yahweh and consumed the burnt offering and the portions of the fat on the altar. And all the people saw it and shouted and fell on their faces. Alrighty. That was chapter 9. Moving on to chapter 10. Then Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took their respective fire pans and put fire in them. Then they placed incense on it and offered strange fire before Yahweh, which he had not commanded them. And fire came out from the presence of Yahweh and consumed them, and they died before Aaron. Then Moses said to Aaron, "It is what Yahweh spoke, saying, 'By those who come near me I will be treated as holy, and before all the people I will be glorified.'" So Aaron kept silent. Then Moses called to Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Aaron's uncle Uziel, and said to them, "Come near, carry your relatives away from the front of the sanctuary to the outside of the camp." So they came near and carried them, still in their tunics, to the outside of the camp, as Moses had said. Then Moses said to Aaron and to his sons Eleazar and Ithamar, "Do not uncover your heads, nor tear your clothes, so that you will not die, and that he will not become wrathful against all the congregation. But your relatives, the whole house of Israel, shall weep over the burning which Yahweh has brought about. You shall not even go out from the doorway of the tent of meeting. You shall not even," I just read that, "lest you die, for the anointing oil of Yahweh is upon you." So they did according to the word of Moses. Yahweh then spoke to Aaron, saying, "Do not drink wine or strong drink, neither you nor your sons with you, when you come into the tent of meeting, so that you will not die. It is a perpetual statute throughout your generations, and so as to separate between the holy and the profane, and between the unclean and the clean, and so as to instruct the sons of Israel in all the statutes which Yahweh has spoken to them through Moses." Then Moses spoke to Aaron and to his remaining sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, "Take the remaining grain offering from the offerings to Yahweh by fire, and eat it unleavened beside the altar, for it is most holy. And you shall eat it in a holy place, because it is a statute for you and a statute for your sons, taken out of the offerings of Yahweh by fire. For thus I have been commanded. The breast of the wave offering, however, and the thigh of the contribution offering you may eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they have been given as a statute for you and a statute for your sons, taken out of the sacrifices of the peace offerings for the sons of Israel. The thigh contributed by raising up, and the breast offered by waving, they shall bring along with the offerings by fire of the portions of fat, to wave as a wave offering before Yahweh. So it shall be a perpetual statute for you and your sons with you, just as Yahweh has commanded. But Moses searched carefully for the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it had been burned up. So he was angry with Aaron's remaining sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, saying, Why did you not eat the sin offering at the holy place? For it is most holy, and he gave it to you to bear away the guilt of the congregation, to make atonement for them from before Yahweh. Behold, since its blood had not been brought inside into the sanctuary, you should certainly have eaten it in the sanctuary, just as I commanded. But Aaron spoke to Moses, Behold, this very day they brought near their sin offering and their burnt offering before Yahweh. Then things like these happened to me. So if I had eaten a sin offering today, would it have been good in the sight of Yahweh? So Moses heard this, and it was good in his sight. I am going to put a question out for all of you real quick, and then I will get back into reading. So let's see. Tell me a verse to read, and I will read and discuss. There we go. All right. So I'm going to put this, let's put it here. Oops. There we go. All right, and y'all can have a field day with that while I'm reading chapter 11, and then I'll go through and see what verses you want me to read, and we'll start reading those. All right, so chapter 11 of Leviticus. Yahweh spoke again to Moses and to Aaron, saying to them, Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, These are the creatures which you may eat from all the animals that are on the earth. So these are the kind of animals that Israel can eat. We hear a lot about clean and unclean animals throughout the Old Testament, so this is where that comes from. These are the creatures which you may eat. Whatever divides a hoof, thus making split hoofs, and chews the cud among the animals, that you may eat. Nevertheless, you shall not eat of these among those which chew the cud, or among those which divide the hoof. The camel, for though it chews cud, it does not divide the hoof. It is unclean to you. Likewise, the shaphan, for though it chews cud, it does not divide the hoof. It is unclean to you. The rabbit also, for though it chews cud, it does not divide the hoof. It is unclean to you. And the pig, for though it divides the hoof, thus making a split hoof, it does not chew cud. It is unclean to you. You shall not eat of their flesh, and you shall not touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you. These you may eat, whatever is in the water, all that have fins and scales, those in the water, in the seas, or in the rivers you may eat. But whatever is in the seas and in the rivers that does not have fins and scales among all the swarming life of the water, and among all the living creatures that are in the water, they are detestable things to you, and they shall be detestable to you. You may not eat of their flesh, and their carcasses you shall detest. Whatever in the water does not have fins and scales is detestable to you. These, moreover, you shall detest among the birds. They shall not be eaten, they are detestable. The eagle, and the vulture, and the buzzard, and the kite, and the falcon in its kind, every raven in its kind, and the ostrich, and the owl, and the gull, and the hawk in its kind, the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, the white owl, and the pelican, and the carrion vulture, and the stork, the heron in its kinds, and the hoopoe, and the bat. All the swarming things that fly and that walk on all fours are detestable to you. Yet these you may eat among all the swarming things that fly and that walk on all fours, those which have above their feet jointed legs with which to jump on the earth. These of them you may eat, the locust in its kinds, and the devastating locust in its kinds, and the cricket in its kinds, and the grasshopper in its kinds. But all other swarming things that fly and that are four-footed and are detestable to you. By these, moreover, you will be made unclean. Whoever touches their carcasses becomes unclean until evening. And whoever picks up any of their carcasses shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. Concerning all the animals which divide the hoof, but do not make a split hoof, or which do not chew cud, they are unclean to you. Whoever touches them becomes unclean. Also, whatever walks on its paws, among all the creatures that walk on all fours, are unclean to you. Whoever touches their carcasses becomes unclean until evening. And the one who picks up their carcasses shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until evening. They are unclean to you. Now these are to you the unclean among the swarming things which swarm on the earth, the mole and the mouse, and the great lizard and its kinds, and the gecko, and the crocodile, and the lizard, and the sand reptile, and the chameleon. These are to you the unclean among all the swarming things. Whoever touches them when they are dead becomes unclean until evening. Also, anything on which one of them may fall when they are dead becomes unclean, including any wooden article, or clothing, or a skin, or a sack. Excuse me. Any article by which work is done, it shall be put in the water and be unclean until evening. Then it becomes clean. As for any earthenware vessel into which any one of them may fall, whatever is in it becomes unclean, and you shall break the vessel. Any of the food which may be eaten, on which water comes, shall become unclean, and any liquid which may be drunk in every vessel shall become unclean. Everything, moreover, on which part of their carcass may fall becomes unclean. An oven or a stove shall be smashed. They are unclean and shall continue as unclean to you. Nevertheless, a spring or a cistern collecting water shall be clean, though the one who touches their carcass shall be unclean. And if a part of their carcass falls on any seed or for sowing, which is to be sown, it is clean. Though if water is put on the seed, and a part of their carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you. Also, if one of the animals dies, which you have for food, the one who touches its carcass becomes unclean until evening. He too who eats some of its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening, and the one who picks up its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. Now every swarming thing that swarms on the earth is detestable. It shall not be eaten. Whatever goes on its belly, and whatever goes on all fours, whatever has many feet, in respect to every swarming thing that swarms on the earth, you shall not eat them, for they are detestable. Do not render yourselves detestable through any of the swarming things that swarm, and you shall not make yourselves unclean with them, so that you become unclean. For I am Yahweh your God. Therefore set yourselves apart as holy, and be holy, for I am holy. And you shall not make yourselves unclean with any of the swarming things that move on the earth. For I am Yahweh who brought you up from the land of Egypt to be your God. Thus you shall be holy, for I am holy. This is the law regarding the animal and the bird, and every living thing that moves in the waters, and everything that swarms on the earth, to separate between the unclean and the clean, and between the edible creature and the creature which is not to be eaten. Everybody left. So, that's why it would just... he just reiterated why all these laws are made. They have to be holy because God is holy. Therefore, they need to be holy because God is dwelling among them, and he cannot dwell among evil. I think I touched on that yesterday when I was reading. I'm going to give this question and answer here one more chance. I'm going to read one more chapter. It's a rather short one. And then if nobody has suggested a verse to read, I'll just continue as if I never asked the question. So chapter 12. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, When a woman gives birth and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean for 7 days. As in the days of her menstruation, she shall be unclean. Now, on the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Then she shall remain in the blood of her cleansing for 33 days. She shall not touch any holy thing, and she shall not enter the sanctuary until the days of her cleansing are fulfilled. But if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, as in her menstruation, and she shall remain in the blood of her cleansing for 66 days. When the days of her cleansing are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the doorway of the tent of meeting a 1-year-old lamb for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. Then he shall bring it near before Yahweh and make atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the flow of her blood. This is the law for her who bears a child, whether a male or a female. But if she cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, the one for a burnt offering and the other for a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement for her, and she will be clean. Alrighty, that's chapter 12. Before I continue, I'm going to do another one of those unashamed advertisings like I was talking about yesterday. This is my... You know what, I'm going to get rid of this question and answer here so y'all can see it. There we go. All right, this is my 366-day Bible reading schedule that is available to purchase on Amazon if you would like. You can use it for a 365-day year or a leap year. And that's what I'm using to read each day, although I am behind, hence why I am reading right now a whole bunch, trying to catch up. I hope you know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. I do. I have for, let's see, how long has it been? 6 years. So not super long, but a good amount of time. It's been an interesting journey. Alrighty. I'm going to read chapter 13 now. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, when a man has on the skin of his body a swelling, or a scab, or a bright spot, and it becomes an infection of leprosy on the skin of his body, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons, the priests. Then the priest shall look at the mark on the skin of the body, and if the hair in the infection has turned white, and the infection appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is an infection of leprosy. When the priest has looked at him, he shall pronounce him unclean. But if the bright spot is white on the skin of his body, and it does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and the hair on it has not turned white, then the priest shall isolate him who has the infection for 7 days. Then the priest shall look at him on the 7th day, and if in his eyes the infection has not changed, and the infection has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall isolate him for 7 more days. And the priest shall look at him again on the 7th day, and if the infection has faded, and the mark has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scab spreads farther on the skin after he has shown himself to the priest for his cleansing, he shall appear again to the priest. And the priest shall look, and if the scab has spread on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. When the infection of leprosy is on a man, he shall be brought to the priest. The priest shall then look, and if there is a white swelling in the skin, and it has turned the hair white, and there is raw flesh still alive in the swelling, it is a chronic leprosy on the skin of his body, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He shall not isolate him, for he is unclean. But if the leprosy breaks out farther on the skin, and the leprosy covers all the skin of him who has the infection, from his head even to his feet, as far as the priest can see, then the priest shall look, and behold, if the leprosy has covered all his body, he shall pronounce clean him who has the infection. It has all turned white, and he is clean. But whenever raw flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall look at the raw flesh, and he shall pronounce him unclean. The raw flesh is unclean, it is leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turns again and is changed to white, then he shall come to the priest. And the priest shall look at him, and behold, if the infection has turned to white, then the priest shall pronounce clean him who has the infection. He is clean. When the body has a boil on its skin, and it is healed, And in the place of the boil there is a white swelling or a reddish-white bright spot, then it shall be shown to the priest. And the priest shall look, and behold, if it appears to be lower than the skin, and the hair on it has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the infection of leprosy. It is broken out in the boil. But if the priest looks at it, and behold, there are no white hairs in it, and it is not lower than the skin and is faded, then the priest shall isolate him for 7 days. And if it spreads farther on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infection. But if the bright spot remains in its place and does not spread, it is only the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or if the body sustains in its skin a burn by fire, and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a bright spot, reddish-white or white, then the priest shall look at it, and if the hair in the bright spot has turned white, and it appears to be deeper than the skin, it is leprosy. It is broken out in the burn. Therefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infection of leprosy. But if the priest looks at it, and behold, there is no white hair in the bright spot, and it is no deeper than the skin, but is faded, then the priest shall isolate him for 7 days. And the priest shall look at him on the 7th day. If it spreads farther in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infection of leprosy. But if the bright spot remains in its place and has not spread in the skin, but is faded, it is the swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is only the scar of the burn. Now, if a man or woman has an infection on the head or on the beard, then the priest shall look at the infection, and if it appears to be deeper than the skin, and there is thin yellowish hair in it, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a scale. It is leprosy of the head or of the beard. But if the priest looks at the infection of the scale, and behold, it appears to be no deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall isolate the person with the scaly infection for 7 days. Now, on the 7th day, the priest shall look at the infection. And if the scale has not spread, and there is no yellowish hair in it, and the appearance of the scale is no deeper than the skin, then he shall shave himself, but he shall not shave the scale. And the priest shall isolate the person with the scale 7 more days. Then on the 7th day the priest shall look at the scale, and if the scale has not spread on the skin, and it appears to be no deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scale spreads farther in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look at him, and if the scale has spread in the skin, the priest need not seek for the yellowish hair. He is unclean. If in his sight the scale has remained, however, and black hair has grown in it, the scale has healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. When a man or woman has bright spots on the skin of the body, even white bright spots, then the priest shall look, and if the bright spots on the skin of their bodies are a faded white, it is eczema that has broken out on the skin. He is clean. Now, if a man loses the hair of his head, he is bald. He is clean. And if his head becomes bald at the front and sides, he is bald on the forehead. He is clean. But if on the bald head or the bald forehead there occurs a reddish-white infection, it is leprosy breaking out on his bald head or on his bald forehead. Then the priest shall look at him, and if the swelling of the infection is reddish-white on his bald head or on his bald forehead, like the appearance of leprosy in the skin of the body, he is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall surely pronounce him unclean. His infection is on his head. As for the leper who has the infection, his clothes shall be torn, and the hair of his head shall be uncovered, and he shall cover his mustache and call out, "Unclean, unclean." He shall remain unclean all the days during which he has the infection. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His place of habitation shall be outside the camp. When a garment has a mark of leprosy in it, whether it is a wool garment or a linen garment, whether in warp or woof, of linen or of wool, whether in leather or in any article made of leather, if the mark is greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the leather, or in the warp or in the woof of any article of leather, it is a leprous mark and shall be shown to the priest. Excuse me. Then the priest shall look at the mark and shall isolate the article with the mark for 7 days. He shall then look at the mark on the 7th day. If the mark has spread in the garment, whether in the warp or in the woof or in the leather, whatever the purpose for which the leather is used, the mark is a leprous malignancy, it is unclean. So he shall burn the garment, whether the warp or the woof, in wool or in linen, or any article of leather in which the mark occurs, for it is a leprous malignancy. It shall be burned with fire. But if the priest shall look, and indeed the mark has not spread in the garment, either in the warp or in the woof, or in any article of leather, then the priest shall command them to wash the thing in which the mark occurs, and he shall isolate it for 7 more days. After the article with the mark has been washed, the priest shall look again, and if the mark has not changed its appearance, even though the mark has not spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it in the fire, whether an eating away has produced bareness on the top or on the front of it. Then if the priest looks, and if the mark has faded after it has been washed, then he shall tear it out of the garment, or out of the leather, whether from the warp or from the woof. And if it appears again in the garment, whether in the warp or in the woof or in any article of leather, it is an outbreak. You shall burn the article with the mark in the fire. Now the garment, whether the warp or the woof or any article of leather from which the mark has departed when you washed it, shall then be washed a second time, and will be clean. This is the law for the This is the law for the mark of leprosy in a garment of wool or linen, whether in the warp or in the woof, or in any article of leather, for pronouncing it clean or unclean. That is a lot. Do I read from the New Testament? I do read from the New Testament, yes. Currently I'm reading through the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation. So currently I'm in Leviticus, and I'm actually behind. But I do read, I try to read anyway, every day from both the Old and New. I follow my schedule that I made, which includes reading a little bit from the Old Testament and a little bit from the New Testament. But I'm a little bit behind, as I said, so that's why I'm reading a whole bunch of Leviticus. And actually, I'm kind of gotten tired of reading all that, complex words and things like that and repetitiveness from Leviticus. So I'm going to go back to Genesis, like I did yesterday, and continue on from where I left off. Let me see. Where did I leave off? I left off in chapter 28, and so today I will need to be in Genesis 36. So that's another 8 chapters. So we're going to read 8 chapters in Genesis now, if I can make it that far. If I can't make it that far, I'll take a break and read something else, but we'll see what happens. Alrighty. So Genesis chapter 29. Then Jacob took up his journey and came to the land of the sons of the east. And behold, I skipped a word. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field. And behold, 3 flocks of sheep were lying there beside it. For from that well they gave water to the flocks to drink. Now the stone on the mouth of the well was large. And all the flock would be gathered there, and they would roll the stone from the mouth of the well, and give water to the sheep to drink, and return the stone back to its place on the mouth of the well. And Jacob said to them, My brothers, where are you from? And they said, We are from Haran. And then he said to them, Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said to them, Is it well with him? And they said, It is well. And here is Rachel, his daughter, coming with the sheep. And he said, Behold, it is still high day. It is not time for the livestock to be gathered. Give water to the sheep to drink, and go, pasture them. But they said, We cannot, until all the flocks are gathered. And they roll the stone from the mouth of the well, and then we give the water to the sheep to drink. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. Now it happened, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob came near and rolled the stone from the mouth of the well, and gave water to the flock of Laban, his mother's brother, to drink. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was a relative of her father, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. So it happened that when Laban heard the report of Jacob his sister's son, he ran to meet him, and he embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Then he recounted to Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him 1 month. And Laban said to Jacob, Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be? Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. Now Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to you than to give her to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they were in his sight but a few days because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in to her. And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. Now it happened in the evening that he took his daughter Leah and brought her to him, and Jacob went in to her. Laban also gave his servant woman Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a servant woman. Now it happened in the morning that, behold, it was Leah, and he said to Laban, What is this that you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me? But Laban said, It is not the practice in our place to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill the week of this one, and we will give you the other also for the service which you shall serve with me for another 7 years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban also gave his servant woman Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her servant woman. So Jacob went in to Rachel also, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban for another 7 years. And Yahweh saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So Leah conceived and bore a son, and named him Reuben. For she said, Because Yahweh has seen my affliction, surely now my husband will love me. Then she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Because Yahweh has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also. So she named him Simeon. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Now this time my husband will be joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, This time I will praise Yahweh. Therefore she named him Judah. Then she stopped bearing. Then Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, so she became jealous of her sister, and she said to Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. Then Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? And she said, Here is my maidservant, Bilhah. Go unto her, that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may obtain children. So she gave him her servant woman Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went in to her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has rendered justice to me, and has indeed listened to my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore she named him Dan. And Rachel's servant woman Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. So Rachel said, With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have indeed prevailed. And she named him Naphtali. Then Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, so she took her servant woman Zilpah, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. And Leah's servant woman Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, How fortunate! So she named him Gad. And Leah's servant woman Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for women will call me happy. So she named him Asher. And in the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter for you to take my husband? And would you take my son's mandrakes also?" So Rachel said, "Therefore, he will lie with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." Then Jacob came in from the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that night, and God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, "God has given me my wages, because I gave my servant woman to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Then Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. And Leah said, "God has gifted me a good gift. This time my husband will honor me, because I have borne him 6 sons." So she named him Zebulun. Afterward she bore a daughter, and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. So she conceived and bore a son, and said, "God has taken away my reproach." And she named him Joseph, saying, "May Yahweh give me another son." Now it happened, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away, that I may go to my own place, and to my own land. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my service which I have rendered you." But Laban said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, stay with me. I have interpreted an omen, that Yahweh has blessed me on your account." And he continued to say, "Name me your wages, and I will give it." But he said to him, "You yourself know how I have served you, and how your livestock have fared with me. For you had little before I came, but it has spread out to a multitude, and Yahweh has blessed you at every step of mine. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also?" So he said, "What shall I give you?" And Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will again pasture and keep your flock. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black one among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. So my righteousness will answer for me later, when you come concerning my wages. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the lambs, if found with me, will be considered stolen." And Laban said, "Behold, let it be according to your word." So he removed on that day the striped and spotted male goats, and all the speckled and spotted female goats, and every one with white in it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the care of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, and Jacob was pasturing the rest of Laban's flocks. Then Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane trees, and he peeled white strips in them, exposing the white which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the trough, that is, in the watering channels, where the flocks came to drink, and they mated when they came to drink. So the flocks mated by the rods, and the flocks brought forth striped, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs, and he made the flocks face toward the striped, and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he set his own herds apart, and did not set them with Laban's flock. Now it would be that, whenever the stronger of the flock were mating, Jacob would place the rods in the side of the flock in the trough, so that they might mate by the rods. But when the flock was feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. So the man spread out exceedingly, and had large flocks, and female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. I am almost out of water. Alrighty. Now I am in chapter 31 of Genesis. Then Jacob heard the words of Laban's son, saying, "Jacob has taken away all that belonged to our father, and from what belonged to our father he has made all his wealth." And Jacob saw the face of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly toward him as formerly. Then Yahweh said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your kin, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field, and he said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not friendly toward me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You also know that I have served your father with all my power. Yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to harm me. If he spoke thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock bore speckled. And if he spoke thus, the striped shall be your wages, then all the flock bore striped. Thus God has delivered your father's livestock and given them to me. Now it happened at the time when the flock were mating that I lifted up my eyes, and I saw in a dream, and behold, the male goats which were mating were striped, speckled, and mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. He said, Lift up now your eyes, and see that all the male goats which are mating are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land, and return to the land of your kin. Then Rachel and Leah said to him, Do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not counted by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the riches which God has delivered over to us from our father belong to us and our children. Now then, do whatever God has said to you. Then Jacob arose and put his children and his wives upon camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his possessions which he had accumulated, his acquired livestock which he had accumulated in Padan Aram, in order to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Now Laban had gone to shear his flock. Then Rachel stole the household idols that were her father's. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he arose and crossed the river and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. Then it was told to Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob had fled. So he took his relatives with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. And God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream of the night, and said to him, Beware lest you speak to Jacob either good or bad. So Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his relatives camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, What have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me and not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with gladness and with songs, with tambourine and with lyre, and not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Now you have acted foolishly. It is in my hand to do evil against you, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Beware of speaking either good or evil to Jacob. So now you have indeed gone away because you longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Then Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, because I said, Lest you take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, recognize what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 maidservants. But he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel's saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban felt through all the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of women is upon me. So he searched, but did not find the household idols. Then Jacob became angry and contended with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have felt through all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Place it here before my relatives and your relatives, that they may decide between us 2. These 20 years I have been with you, Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flocks. That which was torn of beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. By the day heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the dread of Isaac, had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered the decision last night. Then Jacob answered and said to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these daughters of mine, or to their children whom they have borne? So now come, let us cut a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. Then Jacob took a stone and raised it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his relatives, gather stones. So they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. And Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha. Jagar Sahadutha. Interesting word. But Jacob called it Galeed. Then Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore it was named Galeed. And Mizpah, for he said, may Yahweh watch between you and me when we are absent from one from the other. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the pillar, which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I shall not pass by this heap for you, to you for harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the dread of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his relatives to eat a meal. And they ate the meal and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban arose early in the morning and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place. Alrighty, I am going to refill my water right quick because, yep, definitely empty. So I'm going to turn off the camera and the mic real quick, and I shall go out, and I will be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Thanks for waiting for me. I totally expected to see that nobody would be here when I got back, but that's not the case. Alright. Chapter 32 of Genesis. Now Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. Then Jacob said when he saw them, "This is God's camp." So he named that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He also commanded them, saying, "Thus you shall say to my lord, to Esau, Thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban, and have been delayed until now. And I have oxen and donkeys, and flocks, and male and female slaves. And I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find favor in your sight." Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother, to Esau, and furthermore he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 camps. And he said, "If Esau comes to the one camp and strikes it, then the camp which remains will escape." And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and the God of my father Isaac, O Yahweh, who said to me, Return to your land and to your kin, and I will prosper you. I am unworthy of all the loving kindness and of all the truth which you have shown to your slave. For with my staff only I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and strike me down with the mothers and the children. For you said, I will surely prosper you and make your seed as the sand of the sea, which is too great to be numbered." So he spent the night there. Then he took from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. And he gave them into the hand of his servants, every flock by itself, and said to his servants, "Pass on before me, and put a space between flocks." And he commanded the first one in front, saying, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, To whom do you belong, and where are you going? And to whom do these animals in front of you belong? Then you shall say, These belong to your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord, to Esau, and behold, he is also behind us." Then he commanded also the second and the third, and all those who followed the flock, saying, "After this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And you shall say, Behold, your servant Jacob also is behind us. For he said, I will appease his face with the present that goes before me. Then afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will lift up my face." So the present passed on before him, while he himself spent that night in the camp. And he arose that same night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 servant women, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And he took them, and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of dawn. And he saw that he had not prevailed against him, so he touched the socket of his thigh. And so the socket of Jacob's thigh was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him and said, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And he blessed him there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, for he said, "I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been delivered." And the sun rose upon him just as he crossed over Penuel, and he was limping on his thigh. Therefore to this day the sons of Israel do not eat the sinew of the hip which is in the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of the hip. Then Jacob lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, Esau was coming, and 400 men with him. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the 2 servant women. And he put the servant women and their children first, and Leah and her children after them, and Rachel and Joseph after them. But he himself passed on ahead of them, and bowed down to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. Then Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw the women and the children, and said, Who are these with you? And he said, The children whom God has graciously given your servant. Then the servant women came near with their children, and they bowed down. Leah likewise came near with her children, and they bowed down. And afterward Joseph came near with Rachel, and they bowed down. And he said, What do you mean by all these camps which I have met? And he said, To find favor in the sight of my lord. But Esau said, I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have be your own. And Jacob said, No, please. If now I have found favor in your sight, then take my present from my hand. For I see your face as one sees the face of God, and you have received me favorably. Please, take my blessing, which has been brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have everything. Thus he urged him, and he took it. Then Esau said, Let us take our journey and go, and I will go before you. But he said to him, My lord knows that the children are weak, and that the flocks and herds which are nursing are a care to me. And if they are driven hard one day, all the flocks will die. Excuse me. Please let my lord pass on before his servant, and I will lead on slowly, according to the pace of the cattle that are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my lord at Seir. Then Esau said, Please let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. But he said, Why do this? Let me find favor in the sight of my lord. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built for himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore the place is named Succoth. Now Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and he camped before the city. Then he bought a portion of a field where he had pitched his tent from the hand of the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 kesita. Then he set up there an altar, and called it El Elohi Israel. I want to see how much a kesita is. Let me see here. I have some measurements in the back of here. A kesita is a measurement of money. I know that much. Weights and measurements. Monetary units. There we go. Hey. They didn't put a kesita in there. That's not right. I don't know how much that is. Oh, well. Alrighty. I have 3 more chapters, and then I'll be caught up in, Genesis anyway. Oy, what time is it? 10:45. Well, that's pretty late, actually, so I think I'm just going to stop there at chapter 33 for the day. And maybe I will read tomorrow, depending on how things go. But I work tomorrow. It's a 12-hour shift, so probably going to be pretty tired. I'll probably be reading a little bit in my downtime while I'm working, so I don't think I'll be reading the very next chapters of what I read today. I'll probably skip a few for the next stream, but we'll see what happens. Who knows when I'll actually stream again. Maybe it'll be Saturday or even later. I don't know. But anyway, that's gonna be all that I'm gonna read for tonight. And before I go, I'm just gonna do that thing again, another unashamed advertising. I have a Bible reading schedule that you can get on Amazon. Just search my name, you'll get it. It's good for a regular year and a leap year. And then also, I have a book that I wrote, Muplion Pertigop Floppencob. Again, just search my name on Amazon, you'll find it. And I've almost had this one out for publication for a whole year now, so that's really neat. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna do. So, I'm gonna set this up here, and I'm gonna turn this thing off and try to get some sleep. Y'all have a good night. God bless.